Hi everybody, Patty Cesarini here alongside Norah Schmidt from our women's soccer team. This interview is presented by Serra Ford, Rochester Hills. Norah, thank you so much for sitting down and having a little talk with me today.
Thanks for having me.
So I want to talk about not soccer, shocker here, but I want to stay away from, I don't want to stay away from it, but you have a cool part of your past in a different sport, in ski racing. Yeah. I want to talk about that. How did you get into something like that? I know you're from Montana, so that probably helped a little bit.
Yeah, so I grew up in Whitefish, Montana, which has a giant ski hill smack dab in the middle of it. And my dad, growing up, said that no kid of his was never going to ski. So I've been skiing since I could walk. Mm-hmm. And then when I was 6, my mom signed me up for my first Tommy Moe, which is just kind of the mountains run ski races. And I remember her telling me, like, don't expect you to do super well, and I ended up getting, like, first or something.
No kidding!
Yeah. Very first ski race, and then after that, she signed me up for the race team, and from there, I just ski raced up until U16.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so was your dad your trainer then when you were younger?
Yeah, but he never, like, coached me for ski racing. He just taught me how to ski.
Okay, and then when did you make that transition into really being competitive with it and now having, you know, a coach? And like, how does this work? Because this is very foreign to us here in the Midwest. So I'm very curious, you know, the coaching aspect and the training part of it too.
So I signed up when I was around 6. I was pretty young for it. Mm-hmm. But from when you're like 8 to 12, I believe. I don't remember off the top of my head. 8 to 12, you do YSL ski races, okay, which is just youth ski league, and you travel all around the state of Montana. You go to some of the bigger hills like Big Sky and Bridger, and then you also go to like Red Lodge and stuff, and you ski slalom, GS, and combi, which is a combination of both, and you just ski, and it's fun. And then once you get to U14, which is under 14, you get into qualifiers.
Oh, okay. And so that's when it really starts to get competitive, is around the age of 14.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so you're trying to qualify for tri-divisionals or regionals, and I believe it's the top 12 in the state go to tri-divisionals, and then the top 5 above the top 12 go to regionals. And it's a big honor, and like it's a big deal to make it.
Yeah.
And then after U16, you start qualifying for FIS racing, which qualifies you for World Cup racing and stuff.
Wow.
And that's when it gets really expensive. So,
oh boy. But you stopped playing around the age of 16.
Yeah,
right?
I stopped in my second year of my U16.
Okay.
So
your parents are probably like,
yeah,
to chalk up all that cash.
Yeah.
But you said you stopped halfway through?
Yeah.
Why halfway?
I kept crashing, and
oh gosh.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I just kind of realized I enjoyed skiing instead of like ski racing.
Okay.
Like I love ski racing, don't get me wrong, but skiing is just
doing
fun.
It for pleasure rather than,
yeah,
you know, being competitive, and then you're looking at trying to qualify and all that kind of stuff. You're like, yeah, maybe I don't want to get too far into the competitive side of it. Let's just go and do this for fun, like it was when you were, you know, from 0 to 6 years old, when your dad's like, all right, time to go. It's time to get you on the slopes here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was easier for school as well, because I was not skipping. I was leaving school at lunchtime 3 days a week to go ski race on Wednesday, Thursdays, and Fridays, and then I was skiing on the weekend all day for training.
Oh my gosh.
And it got easier to just not do that.
And how long are the training sessions?
Depends. On the weekends, they'd be all day. They'd be from the mountain opening to the mountain closing.
And how long is that?
We'd get up there around like 7 or 8. Sometimes they'd let us on the hill early to set up courses, and then the ski hill would close around like 4. So we'd be done.
So
around
that's literally a whole work day. Like you're hitting the version of a 9 to 5 here.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! And then during the week, lunch hour. You said lunch hour during school. How long was that?
I'd leave school around like 11:30, and then I'd head out to the ski hill. I was at a different ski hill. I transitioned from big mountain ski team to blacktail ski team. Blacktail was probably about 45 minutes away.
And what's the difference?
Blacktail is just a tinier hill.
Oh, okay.
And it was more personalized training for me, which I enjoyed. Nothing against the ski team up on Whitefish.
Yeah.
Love them. They're awesome people.
Shout out.
Yeah. But yeah, I ski raced up on Blacktail, and it was just a better training environment for me. So.
And then now we'll get into the soccer piece
Yeah.
of it. You spent all the way up until you were 16 skiing. Did soccer come into play after that or before?
I always played soccer and I ski raced at the same time.
So you were explaining that you were working a 9 to 5 on the weekends here, and then you're throwing in soccer.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, tell me, how'd you get into soccer?
My mom signed me up. She signed us up for every sport growing up. And I remember when I was very little, she was like, it's either dance or soccer. And I was like, well, I can't really do the splits, so.
Like, I'm not flexible enough.
No, I'm not flexible at all. And so I was like, I'll stick with soccer. And my dad was my very first soccer coach.
Aww.
Yeah, and from there I just played soccer. I'd play soccer in the fall and the spring, and then ski racing was in the winter time.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, so you were working around the clock here.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So, and then did you ever practice or do any trainings for ski racing also? And this might be a really dumb question, but like in the spring or like how does that work? Because if the season is obviously in the wintertime when there's snow outside and stuff, how does that work in the spring and the summer on top of soccer?
We had a thing called dryland camp, which it's kind of like how hockey does it, where in like the off season they go and they just do a bunch of workouts to help build up their skills and stuff for hockey, but without actually being on skates or anything. It was kind of the same thing, but without skis on.
Okay, so you were able to manage this because they weren't overlapping seasons, or did they overlap at all at any point in time? Is there a crossover?
The end of ski season sort of overlapped a little bit with like the beginning of soccer season.
So that'd be hard.
Because everything would be melted in the valley except for the hill. So there'd still be a couple inches up to put gates in. So you'd still go up and like, you'd be training in like a sweatshirt and your snow pants.
Oh, wow.
And then you'd be going to soccer practice afterwards. So.
Were your legs just totally like, by the time you got to soccer?
No, honestly, like at that point in time, like, beginning of ski season, your legs would be cooked by the end of like 2 runs because you're so out of skiing shape. But then by the end of it, like you'd be totally fine. Like you'd be ready to go for more, honestly.
And do you feel that maybe one or the other, that the ski racing helped out with the soccer, or maybe the soccer conditioning helped out with the ski racing? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think they definitely helped with both. Growing up, I kind of viewed soccer as a way to stay in shape for ski racing because they're both big leg sports. So like you have to make sure your legs are always intact and stuff. And it always scared me to tear my ACL. So I'd always take everything super seriously when it came to my knees in soccer and stuff. So.
And then when did you start playing soccer competitively? Now looking into, this is something I wanted to do in college.
I started playing soccer competitively probably when I was 12.
Okay.
I kind of a different soccer route than everyone else that kind of goes into D1 soccer because I never played ECNL or GA or anything like that.
Okay.
I played club soccer, but my club soccer team was very, very good coming out of Whitefish, Montana. And like growing up, like my team won a lot of tournaments in Montana. And then eventually we transitioned over to NSC, which is now Glacier Surf. And we started going to bigger tournaments and we'd place pretty high at those tournaments as well. So like we weren't like ECNL or anything like that, but we were still like competing with all those teams at tournaments.
And I don't think people understand how difficult that is too for just a club team to be competing against Girls Academy and ECNL teams. Like that's hard to do, let alone be really good at it and winning some of these tournaments too, you know? Like that's impressive for your club. So then how did it work with the recruiting and getting into college?
Well, so I'm a transfer here. So I picked a college and I emailed the crap out of the old head coach.
Yeah.
And just got on his radar, and I went to every ID camp. And I know, like, my dad was like, you need to keep your options open. And I was like, nope, I'm going here. And it worked out. He ended up coming to one of my high school games my senior year, and we were in the semifinals. And he was just kind of like, okay, yeah, like, you're good. Like, we'll pick you up. And so it just kind of worked out from there.
Nonchalant.
Yeah, but then the day I signed, he left for another college, which is unfortunate.
It's the worst.
Yeah, but now I'm here, so can't complain too much.
Now at Oakland, and what do you make of your time at Oakland so far?
It's been good. It's been a fast transition.
Sure.
But I've been enjoying it so far. The team's awesome, and the school's very nice. So
Not too bad. How does it fare from Montana, though, being back home?
Very different.
Yeah.
The weather here is so much different. Like, Montana's like a dry type of cold. Not as much wind, not even close to as much wind out here.
Oh, I'd much rather prefer that.
The wind is miserable out here.
It's terrible, isn't it? Even still, it's like, I've lived in the Midwest my whole life. I'm from, suburbs of Chicago, and I still walk outside when it's winter, and I'm like, I could fight the wind. Like, if I could, I would.
Yeah, it's brutal. And I remember we got here, my dad and I rolled in when it was in the negatives during that 1 week, and we were like, holy crap, like, what are we doing?
Because then you add the wind chill, and it makes it so much worse.
Yeah.
Are you a big fan of Yellowstone?
The TV show?
The TV show, yeah.
Like, actually, never watched it.
Oh, I was gonna say, is it pretty, comparable to what it's actually like in Montana? I didn't think so.
Not at all.
I had to imagine it was pretty, I don't know, maybe stuck in the past a little bit, but.
It's so funny. So I actually, growing up, I had a cabin in Yellowstone, National Park area, right on Hebgen Lake, and everyone, it just cracks me up because everyone's like, oh, Yellowstone this, Yellowstone that. I'm like,
it's not like that.
Not actually what Yellowstone's like.
Not accurate.
Yeah, and then all these people, like, Whitefish has become a huge tourist attraction because of the TV show.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And so all these Californians are coming in wearing like cowboy boots and hats and stuff, and they're like, where are the cowboys at? And we're like, there aren't any.
They don't exist. They don't exist.
Like, you guys think you're the cowboys. Like,
oh God, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny.
Well, Norah, I really appreciate you, coming down and chit-chatting with me about competitive ski racing, and then your soccer journey, and then how you ended up at Oakland, and even the differences between what it's like out in Montana and what it's like all the way out here in Michigan. So I appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And that is it for this interview presented by Serra Ford, Rochester Hills.